गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। नमामि गौडपादं च शङ्करं श्रीसुरेश्वरं स्वामिनं सच्चिदानन्दमिन्द्रं तं ज्ञानरूपिणे। Okay, we were discussing Atma Anatma, the mutual adhyasa, mutual exchange of their identities and also transferring their qualities, transferring the mutual qualities to one another. That is mutually transferring their each other's qualities. So in these things, it is due to aviveka. It doesn't mean aviveka brings about adhyasa. See, aviveka, the lack of discrimination, it doesn't mean that lack of discrimination produces adhyasa. But in adhyasa, you find lack of discrimination is there. Okay. When there is adhyasa, you find lack of discrimination is there. That's what it means. It doesn't mean lack of discrimination is a cause which produces adhyasa. Okay. It shouldn't be stated in that way. Because lack of discrimination is absence. How can an absence produce something? First thing is adhyasa itself is not a product, because you find instinctively present. It is not something produced in time. This we have told. I am only just to remind the context. I am just repeating these few words because people need to be reminded where we are. Otherwise, somewhere we are. Okay. In that context, regarding that, we were discussing Atma, qualities of Atma and qualities of Anatma. Now, yadyapi chaitanyadayo namanatmanas sakashat pruthak vidyante dharmaha. The qualities of Atma or the properties of Atma which were described above as Chaitanyam, Kutastam. Kutastam means changelessness. Chaitanyam is consciousness, changelessness, and so on. These qualities actually cannot be called as qualities or properties, because a property is something which is additionally attached, or property is something which can be in some manner distinguished from the substance. Okay, a quality is slightly distinguishable from the substance. Though it is related to it, it is slightly distinguishable. But these Chaitanyam, Kutastatvam are not actually the properties of Atma. They are the very nature of Atma. Okay. Therefore, na pruthak vidyante dharmaha. This we have discussed yesterday. The quality, nature of substance and quality, or in Sanskrit we call them dravya and guna, or guna and guni. These terms, if you are familiar, it becomes easy for communication. Guna and guni. Guni means one who is the possessor of guna is called guni, or the guna is the quality. Guna guni, athava guna dravya, athava dharma dharmi. These three words are synonymous. Okay, dharmi dharma. Dharmi is the one who possesses dharma, and then guni is the one who possesses the guna, and also dravya guna. Dravya guna vaisheshikas use. So these three ways we express. If you remember three, wherever it comes, it becomes easy to understand. So that guna guni relation, to have a relation, the two things should be separate. In the same one thing, you can't have relation. One means one. In one, there is a question of relation. If there are two, in some manner they can be separated. If there are two, then the relation is possible. So here he says, these dharmas of Atma are not really properties existing separate from Atma. Because Nitya Nirvishesha Chaitanya Swarupatvad Atmanaha, I don't know, you are referring this last edition, third edition, I am referring 9th page towards the end, those who are reading the book. Okay, towards the end last. Then Nitya Nirvishesha Chaitanya Swarupatvad Atmanaha, because Atma is Nitya Nirvishesha. Nirvishesha without any quality, without any speciality or a specification, without any distinction. It is indistinguishable from the whole thing. It is one way. It is whole one uniform. So if this indistinguishability, that means not having any special quality. So not being special, this not being special is a Nitya Swabhava. Nitya means eternally. It is not a tentatively, Atma is free from all qualities. It is eternally, and also by its very nature. In its nature, it doesn't have, because having a quality, people think that having no quality means it is a minus point. The Dvaitins or Sagunavadins, they say having a quality is something special. This we have discussed. Worldly people think that we should be special. We should have some extra quality. But it is okay in comparing with others who do not have this extra quality, or who have got a lesser quality. Compared to them, you may look greater. But once you have a quality, you become limited. Remember that. Once you have a quality, you become limited. Even a good quality also makes you limited. Okay? Good also makes you limited. Because those who have got a good quality, those who are known for some good quality, good talent, they are always afraid of failing in certain circumstances and get bad name. Okay? Those who are not popular like us, we have nothing to worry. But those who become celebrities, they are always afraid. Because some journalist, some camera, some cell phone may watch me. If I am in a very relaxed mood, or some talking to somebody informally, or quarreling, or shouting somebody, immediately it will go into viral. These days viral. In those days TV and newspaper, these days viral. Now you will have to struggle hard to recover from that bad name. Therefore, once you become a celebrity, people think that ordinary people, those who are not celebrities, to be celebrities, how great, how lucky. It is not so lucky. They will have their own tensions, their own worries. Therefore, even if you have a good name, you have to maintain it. Gune, what is that? Bhoge roga bhayankule chutibhayam. Bhoge roga bhayankule chutibhayam vitte nrupala adbhayam mane dainya bhayam mana. When there is a respect, you are always afraid of losing the respect, being humiliated. Mane dainya bhayam gune khala bhayam. Guna, if you have got some guna, sadguna, khala. Khala means the wicked people or any normal people also. They'll give you some trouble. Supposing you are known for very patience. A person who doesn't lose temper, unlike me, I am very angry person, short-tempered person. So, there are people who have got a lot of patience. He is well known for his patience. Gune khala bhayam. Any good quality you have got. You are known for your patience. Never lose temper. Patiently try to explain, try to adjust. Such a person also has a fear, because some khala, some wicked person will irritate you, will create you, either out of jealousy, or out of hatred, or out of ego, or out of simple ignorance also. People irritate you. They will misbehave. And they test, in short, they create a situation to test your patience. And you lose your patience. and say something or shout or accuse or something, something do you do. And later you will have to worry, Abba, I lost my name. People also shocked, hey, do you know that? He got angry. Do you know that? He got angry. It becomes a big news because you are a man of patience. You never lose temper. If you lose temper once, it becomes a big news, viral news. Okay? He lost temper, he lost temper. Then thereafter, you will be worried. Therefore, gune khalabhayam, kaye kritanta adbhayam, mane dainya bhayam gune khalabhayam, kaye kritanta adbhayam. I forgot one more third line. Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvinrunam vairagya deva bhayam bhoge roga bhayam. So in every sarvam vastu bhayanvitam, wherever there is a positive quality, good quality, every quality you will have to worry. See, that's why Advaitins told, even the good quality also has its own limitations, its own problems with it, accompanying it. Because you have that quality and afraid of losing it. And if you get some situation which pressurizes you to behave differently, then what will you explain? What will you do that? See, in all those people who talk of God is kind, God is love, and God is all, in all those places you can see them, God is not love, He is very cruel. And when you say God is very kind-hearted, you will see very clear. God knows everything, and when you say in all those saguna, whether foreign religions or Indian religions, all those sagunas are Dvaitins, wherever you present that He is all-knowing, and there is a situation where He is ignorant, where He doesn't know certain things. And atheists catch. Atheists, rationalists catch, they sing and they abuse all gods. So, if He is all-knowing, then why did God behave like this? Does He not know? That means God is also a human being. Then why do you claim that He is God and all-knowing? This is how they put a question. These atheists get angry. You talk to all this, see, only Advaitins are not afraid of atheists, I tell you. Everybody is afraid of atheists. Because all Sagunavadis want you to believe God. Then if somebody doesn't believe, you get upset. Only Advaitins are very relaxed. Whether somebody believes, somebody doesn't believe, let anybody think anything of our God. Because it doesn't make any difference. God, whatever He is, He is. God is because He is. Whether somebody accepts Him, somebody loves Him, somebody cares for Him or not, it doesn't make any difference. So God doesn't get angry if you don't believe Him. Does God send atheists to hell or not? God is terribly irritated by atheists. And He says that I'll send you to hell. That means atheist can irritate God. God can lose His temper by atheists. Because atheists make Him to lose temper. Okay, if you talk to these theists, those who talk Saguna Brahma, Dvaita Brahma, Dvaita Ishvara, it's very nice thing. You face, let the atheist talk to them. Only Advaitins can enjoy their quarrel. You can be relaxed and watch how they quarrel, how they criticize. These people lose temper. It goes on endlessly. Because any quality, when you say, it has got its own limitation because it is relative. Even a good is also relative because you want to, in order to show your good quality, there should be somebody else. See, there should be somebody else. So there, see, you have to show your, do you say the kindness, for example, I'll give you, kindness, compassion is the nature of God. Our God is very kind, very compassionate, very loving. Kind, compassionate, we call, the loving they use, the foreign religions. When He is loving and kind, compassionate, sometimes what happens? Here, kind and compassionate, because you need some jiva in order to show your compassion. If suppose jiva doesn't need, like our moderners say, you keep the people poor so that you can do charity. You keep the people poor and then they say that so that you can practice your charity. This is what all these equality vadins, economic equality like communists and all, Anyway, communists have never created equality, neither in Russia, nor in China, nor in any other communist country. But theoretically, they argue like that. So we don't go into their details. Theoretically, they say, why do you want charity and dana? See, dana means these days, because we are so much influenced by the communistic ideas, that if you call the word dana, they get irritated. I think in Bangalore I told. I'll tell you a very interesting thing here. I used to go to, when I go to Hyderabad, I stay in their house. And they were telling, once that lady was telling, my daughter on every Sunday gives some, cooks some food, and poor feeding she does it. So we never speak in English. So she is also not so much know English. She also doesn't know much English. So poor feeding. I told, what is that? Is he doing dana, annadana? Chichi, Swamiji, not annadana. See, when I asked her, is it annadana she is doing? She says, Chichi, Swamiji, not annadana. Then I told her, annadana is a bad word. She see how she reacts to annadana when I say, but for us annadana is a very noble word, very good word. On Sunday she cooks and gives to people in the hospitals. Those who come to look after the patients there come from villages, from different outsiders, outside from cities. From the villages, they have no way of cooking, and money, it costs a lot to take from hotels and all. So for such people, she cooks the food and sends some packets. There is some association, they will go and distribute. I told annadana, no. Then what is it? She is giving food, Swamiji. Okay, that's what I told annadana. No. It's not annadana, Swamiji, chichi. She is poor people she is giving. Oh, we have to say poor feeding, then it is good. If you say annadana, the dana is a negative word for these people. Probably tomorrow they say we are poor feeding also, they won't like it. Probably they would say, I don't know, some honorable word. We use a lot of positive words. Our heart doesn't become positive, but we cleverly discover in high words. High words. I don't know what kind of words they are going to use tomorrow. Tomorrow means in future. Sharing food, probably they may say, not even poor feeding. Now they have come to poor feeding. Yesterday it was annadana. Now annadana is a bad. Poor feeding now they say. Probably poor feeding also is a negative. They may feel hurt because people become too egoistic. They can't bear the terms. Therefore probably they say sharing the food. Even the sharing also they may not like also after some time. I don't know what kind of words they use it. So anyway, so this, if God is very compassionate, so they criticize us that to practice your charity, somebody has to be poor. They say charity itself is a wicked word. These religious people, the moral people, want to keep the people poor so that they can practice charity and get punyam. They say punyam is unjust. Punyam is, the very idea of punyam is unjust. The very idea of punyam or religion itself is unjust to humanity. Your God is unjust and you followers of God are unjust. See, this is how the atheists talk. You see, religion or God doesn't say that some people should be kept poor so that I can acquire punyam. When people are in trouble, go and help. That's all it means. When people are in trouble, you go and help. That's what it means. It doesn't say that keep the people poor so that you can practice charity. But here anyway. So they criticize it. It is a little deviation. We leave it. Other thing, if God has to practice His compassion, there should be somebody who is in need of compassion. The same argument with the atheist has used, the same argument can be applied to your Saguna Brahma also. So if God has to be kind to whom? There should be somebody who is in need of my compassion and sympathy. That means Jiva should be suffering. Some Jiva should be in trouble. Then why create jivas as a troubling jivas and suffering jivas and then practice your compassion? So if you talk like this, they get angry. The Saguna Brahmavadi, Dvaitavadins, all the kinds of Dvaitas. Now here so these are all very, very many, it goes into a very big discussion. We don't go into so many details. Only just one point I say and come back to our topic. The gunas, when we say, once say, Dvaitins say that Ishvara is Swatantra. And again say Ishvara's qualities are real. Quality means we take only one quality. One quality is quality of being compassionate. If compassion is the real quality of Ishvara, how can he practice his compassion unless there is somebody who is in need of my compassion, who is in need of my kindness? So that means he is depending upon a helpless person to practice my compassion. That means, now here the problem comes. If kindness is his real nature, then Ishvara cannot be Swatantra. Ishvara cannot be totally independent, because if Ishvara should have kindness, and the kindness is his real nature, then there somebody should be always in need of him so that you can show your kindness. Suppose if there is no Jiva, or if a Jiva doesn't need your kindness, if Jiva is not helpless, you cannot practice your kindness. That means what? What will happen to you? You will feel restless. If kindness is your real nature, real quality, you become restless. Because, see, people you see, you live I'll give you a very common man's example. You live always a selfish man. You cook food for yourself, you earn your money and spend for yourself, and you have all your luxuries and you use for you spend lot of money and then eat and then do all those things. After some days you feel so bored that a lot of money you have, you spend it, you enjoy, but still your mind looks for something, a deeper joy. Where will you go? Somebody is really in trouble. Somebody is suffering. Some poor man, or due to some reason, may not be poor, but due to some reason. Then you feel that you have got a lot of money and you feel like sharing with him. When you share, what kind of feeling you get it? The person feels so grateful to you that I am in so trouble that I don't know how to thank you, that you have helped me. I am so helpless. I cannot afford even this much. For you, even that small help is nothing. You could help him in 3 times, 4 times more. You are capable of giving 1,000 rupees, but you gave him even 100 rupees or 50 rupees alone is a great amount for him at that moment. Now what do you feel? Bah, what a great joy. Because when you practice compassion, it gives you a deep joy, deep satisfaction. Doesn't it? If God also doesn't get opportunity to show his compassion to Jiva, if Jiva is not suffering, if Jiva is not in trouble, what happens? God cannot show his compassion. When he doesn't show his compassion, he remains dumb and always boring, because no chance to be compassionate and loving. When he cannot show his love and compassion, always remains bored, living for myself, spending my own money and earning my own money, I am spending for myself. You have your money spending for yourself, you don't get that joy. When you share with others, what a joy you get it. So God also will have the same problem, isn't it? God, in order to practice his charity and compassion, he needs a Jiva. Okay, now the question comes. You say this compassion is a real quality of Ishvara. Another side you say Ishvara is Swatantra. Now Ishvara has become dependent or not? My question is, Ishvara has become dependent on Jiva to show his quality, and the quality is real. The real quality means he has to practice the quality. When he has to practice, there should be real Jiva. Somebody is really suffering. Now Ishvara lost his independence, isn't it? Then Ishvara has to be independent, then the quality should not be real for him. They should be only Lila Matram. Okay. Therefore, Advaitins say, Ishvara by himself he doesn't need the compassion, he doesn't need to be kind and compassionate to be what he is. He is always Paripurna on his own. Ishvara is Paripurna on his own without a need to be compassionate to others. He is now then the question comes, now therefore we have established Ishvara's independence. Ishvara doesn't need poor people so that he can practice his charity. Ishvara doesn't need a suffering jiva so that he can be kind and compassionate to them. So Ishvara doesn't become dependent because he is happy by himself. He is by nature Ananda Swarupa. Okay. So then that being compassionate is not a necessary quality of him. It is an extra quality in the sense that quality appears in him from the standpoint of jiva. From the standpoint of jiva, that quality appears. Then we say it is adhyastha, it is only aupadika. For jiva's standpoint, that quality appears. From his standpoint, it is not a real quality, it is himself. It is himself appears as a quality for others. Okay? This is what is the speciality of Advaita. We also accept Ishvara has at certain stage all qualities. Ishvara's qualities as a Ishvara. Ishvaratvam itself is a quality. So the difference between Advaitins and other non-Advaitins is, Advaitins say these qualities are really there for Ishvara. We say those qualities are there for the standpoint of Jiva, because Jiva needs them, and Ishvara appears to be expressing. Like sun appears to be rising from our standpoint, but sun remains what he is. Sun appears to be very tender and red and orange at the time of rising. After some time he becomes slightly yellow. Then he becomes white when we see him in the midday. Okay. Again in the evening, at the time of sunset, sun changes. See, the size of the sun changes. Size of the sun becomes bigger and also becomes red. And the brightness comes down, we can see with our bare eyes. Okay. So at the time of rising, sun is in one way. When in the midday, he looks at differently. Sun rising is not true. It appears for us rising, but he doesn't rise. Sun appears to be red and also can be looked with our bare eyes without. I am giving 2 or 3 qualities. These are all known to us. So only to just narrate them. This is what we call anuvada. Anuvada means we only just my point Ian is telling is what I want to drive home is these qualities of the color and less bright and also rising, these 3 appear from our standpoint. For him, he remains just the same like before. Similarly, Ishvara's qualities appear from Jiva and the worldly standpoints, as if he is giving, he is compassionate, he is doing. All the qualities are real, okay, from the standpoint of Jiva. For his standpoint, just as sun doesn't move. Okay. Even the fire being hot, is a fire hot for himself? That fire is hot from our standpoint. But for himself, he doesn't feel any hot. Does fire feel hot? If fire feels hot, he would be burning. I think he has to wear sweater or he has to cover himself. If fire feels hot, fire doesn't feel hot. We feel hot in presence of fire. Similarly, Ishvara's qualities from the Jiva standpoint is okay. Therefore, now the Sagunavadins or Dvaitins, when they say Ishvara needs all qualities because Jiva has to pray to him, worship him, Jivas have to be blessed by Ishvara, Jiva does the Anugraha, protects them, blesses them, loves them, cares them, all that is true. He loves them, cares them, all that we never deny. They say when Advaitins say Ishvara is Nirvishesha, Nirguna, they made Ishvara qualityless. They made him a dull inert object. Ishvara qualityless is a Shunyavada, is either inert stone. God is inert stone or God is a Shunya. They interpret it like that. They take it in their own way. And they say, oh my God, that means Jiva cannot be protected. Jiva cannot pray. Jiva cannot do puja, aradhana, bhakti, all that is nonsense there. If Jiva cannot do aradhana, then there is no moksha. No Ishvaranugraha, no moksha, Jiva will be suffering in samsara. Oh, what kind of Ishvara it is. That means it is as good as a Ishvara Nasti. It is as good as it is equal to Nastikatvam. Jiva will remain samsara, Ishvara is Nasti. What kind of Advaita is philosophy? Therefore Advaita is all meaningless. This is how they understand. Okay? But we say, if Jiva has got these qualities really in him, really means Ishvara has to feel for himself also. Real means I am talking. Sun is looking tender and red for us. But does sun feel he is red and tender? That his brightness is less and brightness is more. Does the fire feel that I am hot now and I am not hot now? Sun doesn't, the fire doesn't feel hot for himself. If you feel hot in presence of fire, similarly, Jivas receive all blessing, all compassion, all anugraha, everything from Jiva's standpoint, Ishvara. But for Ishvara, it is his naturalness. What Jiva sees as a quality, what Jivas or the Prapancha standpoint sees as a quality is his nature. It is nature for him, appears as a quality for us. Therefore, quality is also taken care of. And Ishvara transcending quality also is taken care of. So, Nirguna, Saguna both are explained. Okay. He has qualities at one standpoint. And at another standpoint, he is beyond quality. He transcends all qualities. He doesn't lose qualities. He transcends qualities. See the difference. When we say Nirguna, it doesn't mean he is quality less. He is devoid of qualities. Though some people translate, because literally when you go by the Sanskrit word, Nirguna, Nirgataha, Gunaha, you take literally word and we say divide of gunas. It is not a divide, it is transcending is the right expression. He transcends qualities, he is not divide of gunas. So, that Nirguna, because the limitations in having gunas, he transcends. He transcends the limitations in having gunas, though he has the gunas. Now, once we say he transcends gunas, oh, he doesn't have gunas. Ayyo Rama, that is another problem. See, we explain both. He has the gunas, but himself is free from gunas. This standpoint they are unable to digest, or nobody explained to them, or even if they explain, they are not willing to understand, they are not willing to look at the standpoint we are trying to explain, but whatever is they say, Ishvara is never Nirguna, Ishvara must have the quality. But in these things the problem arises. See, if somebody holds a philosophy that Ishvara has got real qualities, we need not hate them, we don't get hurt. Why should we get hurt? Why should we quarrel with them? It is not the question of quarreling. It is not the question of getting hurt personally. Why should we get hurt? You think Ishvara has got some quality. Why should I feel hurt? See, when you start propagating, we only want to think whether it is acceptable to our mind or not. That's what we mean. See, if you try to propagate that Ishvara must be accepted as having qualities, really having qualities, so we have to think whether, because we are only questioning it only when I am forced to accept. If I am not forced to accept, then when I have a freedom, I just reject it and I allow you to hold your view. No quarrel, no problem. But just because I don't accept your quality of Ishvara, then you call me Asura, then you are a Manimanta Avatara, and then this looks too much. This is a character assassination, personally talking and all. I said see, you philosophically you have got all freedom to hold your views, as long as you don't impose, as long as you give me freedom to follow my views. But in your human life, leave about philosophy. When you have a freedom to hold a certain view, you can hold view. But in a human life, in a human society, everybody should have freedom to hold his own view. You should not stalk in character assassination, calling him by bad names. This is inhuman. Because the human right says you should not call any bad names. You can only say we hold this, we believe this one, and we don't accept other thing. Because we have certain reason to explain and give what is the logic. You can explain the logic and you can believe your views and you can reject others' view and explain the reason. When somebody is asked you, why do you reject Nirguna? Because of this reason I reject Nirguna, I won't accept it. This is perfectly right. But why call names? Why call names? They say this is our freedom. You know what they say? They publish in the book. Their staunch followers, a great scholar of Sanskrit scholar, I tell you, he's a professor and a traditional man. He said, It is his freedom. He exercised. It is his freedom to criticize Shankara or anybody. Criticism in a topic is okay. Why personally calling just because you differ, you call him all bad names, wicked names? That is not a freedom. That is abuse of freedom. That is inhuman. That is a character assassination. We only don't want this. Other things, he has got all freedom. We also have got, he also have. We just exchange views and share and discuss. We may agree, disagree. All that is very nice. Okay. So, okay. Here the problem is, if you accept Ishvara has got the qualities really, then what happens? To practice that quality, he requires another person. If he is always dependent on Jiva to practice the quality, then if supposing Jiva is not in need of Ishvara's compassion, then God gets bored. Then he keeps Jiva all the time helpless. Now this is where the communist and the atheist objection comes. You want to keep Jiva all the time poor so that you can practice your charity? Now the atheist argument, we don't believe in atheist and atheist argument, but just for sake of argument we are just using it, that's all. We don't believe atheism and all. See, when we use this argument, they club us with atheists. We are only just using the argument. See, to maintain the quality of Ishvara, you are keeping Jivas as a poor people all the time. Why don't you elevate the Jiva to such a station that where he doesn't need even the quality of being poor? He doesn't have to be poor. Elevate him. They say no. Because for Ishvara to practice his quality of compassion, Jiva has to be suffering. Then only he can practice. That means Jiva is also dependent. Just as Ishvara needs, just as Jiva needs Ishvara, Ishvara also needs Jiva. They are mutually dependent. Then you may say, yes, they are dependent. Then your concept of Ishvara being Swatantra false. This is what we. So there is a contradiction in your Ishvara, in Ishvara concept. One side you say quality is real, Ishvara depending upon Jiva, Jiva is real. For real quality, he has to depend on Jiva. If he really depends, then his independent goes away. We told Ishvara can have a quality, at the same time should be independent. Now how do you harmonize these two? Ishvara should be independent and also should have the quality of blessing and what you call being compassionate to Jiva. How do you combine these two? They are opposite. If you say being compassionate is a real quality, he won't be independent. If you give him independent, then he doesn't have the real quality. How do you combine? Advaitins thought over all these things. Shruti says, therefore we have not, see, Upanishads always talk of gunas of Ishvara. Ishvara is a saguna. At the same time they talk nirguna. We make a combination. See, this is very interesting to see. Upanishads talk of Brahman as having gunas and Brahman is free from gunas. 2. How do you explain these two kinds of statements without doing any damage to anyone? Okay. Some people told there are Dvaita Advaitins. Ishvara has got gunas and Ishvara is free from gunas. Both are possible. See, there is one way of explanation. Ishvara has two aspects. In one aspect he has got a quality, another aspect he is free from qualities. It is two ways. That means Ishvara has got two faces, like a front and the back. Front I have got a qualities, back I don't have. See, front I have got eyes, back I don't have. Do I have? I don't have eyes in the back. That's why I can't walk backwards. Like I think a car is better than us. Your car can move backwards, but human being cannot walk backwards. Car can walk backwards. Okay. But we can't walk backwards. I am told, what is that? Bear. Bear can walk backwards, I am told. Bear can walk backwards. Human beings walk frontal or not backwards. So if Ishvara has got qualities and also free from qualities, now what they present, in one part of Ishvara, one part of Paramatma has qualities, another part he doesn't have. In these things what happens? This is one explanation. Because they thought of it, they could think of it, and they gave the explanation. This is called Dvaita Advaitins. Just because you give that explanation, we should not abuse them. They are also great people. They are Tyagi, Vairagyam, their tapas, their dhyana, their chintana. They are also doing, they have got followers, and they have got a lot of things. Dvaita Advaita. They accept Dvaita one side, Advaita also true, Dvaita also true. Gunas also true, and Nirguna also true. In these things what happens? Then they have to create two aspects. One aspect to gunas, another aspect to no gunas. In these things what happens? Then the Ishvara doesn't have the fully free from qualities, partly free from qualities and partly stuck with quality. That means whatever Advaitins accuse, that Ishvara becomes dependent, then becomes partly dependent to partly independent. The same problem arises. Then how does the Dvaitins explain? Dvaitins explain that Upanishad talks of gunas and no gunas. They say gunas, the sentences which talk of gunas, the texts, Upanishad texts which talk of gunas are the real quality, real texts. They should be taken as a primary meaning. Then what about absence of gunas, freedom from gunas, transcending gunas? They say it doesn't mean transcending gunas. It means he doesn't have bad qualities, that's all. But where is it? Shruti doesn't say bad qualities. It negates all qualities. Now you see, you gave some far-reaching explanation. Far-reaching explanation. They say Ishvara doesn't have bad qualities. When you say positive qualities, it doesn't have bad qualities, automatically implied. Why does Upanishad have to say? See, this is one more objection Advaitins say. Once Ishvara is talked about of compassion, do you have to say he is not cruel? Once you say compassion, he is not cruel, is automatically implied. Why does Upanishad has to say that he is not cruel? They say, when it is describing positive qualities, it is also negating the qualities. In negating, he is only negating bad qualities, Jiva's qualities is negating, but retaining good qualities. This is how the Dvaitins explain. This explanation also doesn't fit in. Then ultimately Advaitins told, at one level, from the worldly standpoint, he has got all the qualities, but on himself he transcends. So, these are the three. One is the Dvaitins explanations, another is Dvaita Advaitins explanations, another is pure Advaitins explanation. Three explanations. Now we present them. Think, rethink, again and again and again and again. Whichever suits you, you accept it. We don't compel, we don't impose. It is freedom for you. Think, which one suits better? Which one is free from contradiction? Which one doesn't compromise the other, doesn't contradict with the other qualities of Ishvara, other explanation of Ishvara. Ishvara is independent. Okay, that we have to retain. Ishvara is Sarva Swatantra, totally independent and Swatasiddha. That Swatasiddha and total independence of Ishvara suffers if you accept certain other problems, other relationship. Therefore, Advaitins, in order to balance it, ultimately they accepted it this way. See, this is how you think and understand. Now, by abusing, you can't understand Vedanta. You can't understand Advaitins by calling them Asuras. That is not the way of it, because you call Asura, you call personally, you personally abuse means you are feeling hurt. Either you are feeling inferior or you are feeling inferior because your Siddhanta looks wrong in front of others. You see, when you are defeated, you feel jealous. Supposing a greater scholar comes, he is more scholar, people start clapping with him. When somebody makes a statement, people all clap him, then you feel jealous and you get angry, start abusing and talking all negatively because nobody is clapping for me. This means you are feeling inferiority complex. But why should you feel hurt? When you love your Siddhanta, be happy, and say it appeals to those people, those who love it. So this is what this philosophy gives me happiness. Leave that. But don't start feeling hurt. Why do you feel guilty and feel hurt and start abusing others? Isn't it? When in a debate, when you discuss, when you are defeated, when more people start appreciating other side, you feel defeated. You feel, of course anybody is defeated, so what? Even defeat also take lightly. What is the Ishvara? If you believe in your Ishvara, Ishvara made you feel defeated also, be relaxed. Enjoy that Ishvara gave you, see Sukha Dukkhe Samekrutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayav. Sometimes you are defeated, sometimes you are well. Okay? Success and defeat, Ishvara's prasada, accept and be relaxed. Why do you have to abuse? Why do you have to feel guilty or inferior? When you feel inferior, then the automatic reaction is you start abusing the winning case. The winning person you start abusing, you start doing character assassination. I don't know whether this is the reason for their character assassination or any other reason, I don't know. Probably this could be, this is my guessing. I'm not accusing anything. If I were in that place, I think that could be my reason. If I am defeated and if I am accusing, then you have to conclude that I have got inferiority complex. I am unable to accept my defeat, therefore I am accusing and abusing others. Personally, I am attacking his character. Because this is my human nature, human weakness, this is how I understand. Okay, so this is Ishvara Swatantra, you have to maintain it. Therefore, the qualities have to be, qualities also we have to see. And Swatantra has to be maintained, then how do you do? I think I'll tell you. You take, it is a homework and think. Ishvara is Sarva Swatantra. At the same time, he must have a quality. Okay, now we explain, the Advaitins explained, which I have already told you, that fire is hot from the standpoint of others. Similarly, if qualities are explained in that way, you think over these things. What is the purpose of qualities? Ishvara having the qualities for what purpose? Ishvara have the qualities for his own sake or for Jiva's sake? Fire is hot because fire does get any benefit by being hot? Or the being hot is an advantage to the other people who can use the fire and cook and eat their food and do all those things? See, who is going to be benefited? Who wants that fire to be hot? Does fire need that, oh I am hot, I am hot, I am hot? Does fire has to feel that it is a hot? Fire doesn't have to feel that it is a hot. So similarly, Ishvara's qualities are necessary for Jiva to be blessed. So okay, if that is the purpose, we accept Ishvara's qualities for that purpose. Beyond that, if Ishvara himself has to feel, I must feel compassion, I must be kind. Why do you need to be kind? Because if I feel kind, I am happy. If I am not kind, I feel unhappy. That means that quality is really required for Ishvara. When you say quality is real, kindness is real, then Ishvara has to feel the kindness. If he doesn't feel kind, if he doesn't get opportunity to feel kind, then Ishvara feels restless. Then Ishvara also start abusing Advaitins. Just for joke I am telling, okay. Ishvara also will start abusing. In fact, our Abrahamic gods also do like that. They also get angry, they shout and they say hateful, they hate and abuse, they are jealous. He say, I am jealous God, go and kill them. So here, if Ishvara's quality is real, quality real means what? He has to feel the quality. If he doesn't feel the quality, then he feels inferior, something is missing, something is lacking in him. We say, Ishvara's qualities, not for Ishvara to feel. If I feel the quality, I become happy. Otherwise, I don't feel. If Ishvara's quality is superfluous for others' sake, not for him. For others' sake means they are not required for him to be real there. This is what we mean, not real. See, every point by point do you do manana. Take time. Take its own time, no hurry. Advaita requires a lot of vichara. Think, point by point you think. Look at anubhava, look at logic. It's a question of time. That's why it takes hours together. I take 1 point and 1 hour is over. You see, 50 minutes are over, just I took 1 point. Because it's a good manana. Advaitins because go by facts. To understand the fact, look at from all angles, analyze, discuss, ultimately come to the fact. Because your analysis, when you analyze, all unreasonable, unacceptable things, you just get dropped. Naturally, your thinking, your vichara leads to a point where all contradictions are resolved, all mistakes are resolved. This alone seems to be perfectly right, perfectly harmonious understanding of Vedanta. It doesn't suffer from any mistakes, any contradictions, anything which you can find fault with. Ultimately, you arrive at understanding which is perfectly okay. So your vichara should naturally lead to a certain fact. By accepting that fact, all problems are solved. Mind is totally relaxed and free. This is how the Advaita vichara is. Now neither you feel inferior nor you feel any other problem. So you are relaxed, totally free. That's why the very truth, Shankara somewhere says, how do you say Advaita can be the truth? Just only one point. There are many other arguments, we leave them. How do you say Advaita itself is the final truth? Shankara uses one argument. Advaita means non-dual. When you reach non-dual, you have no doubts, no problems, no questions, no answer. There is nothing to worry because there is nothing second to you. It is so natural to you. It is so fearless state, so natural state. That's why it alone is the truth. This is one argument he uses. Because once you are non-dual, there is nothing to worry. Because there is nothing else to you. No worry, no tension, no fear, no what happens to me tomorrow, or I may change, or I may something. Because no jealousy, no worry, no tension, nothing. It is so natural, full state. A fulfilled state of naturalness. So all problems are solved in it. Therefore naturally you become free. Therefore Advaita alone can make you really free from all samsara. See, this is how he arrives. That's why in Shankara's discussion, not by simply argument, look at your anubhava. Point by point you do manana, patiently. If it looks wrong, if Advaita looks wrong for you, it looks full of contradictions, patiently, again think. Because we are not emotionally attached that Advaita you must accept it. If suppose it convinces you, accept Advaita, we are not worried about it. Go for the fact, that's what we mean. Go by the fact. What convinces you, what ultimately takes you, but don't feel inferior and start abusing. Abusing others means you are feeling inferior and guilty about your Siddhanta. Be natural, be spontaneous, and go keep on doing manana, chintana, vichara. Ultimately your mind naturally reaches a point where everything is one. It naturally leads you to Advaita alone. Because Advaita is the only thing which is free from contradictions, free from quarrels. Because there is nothing other than you. Everybody is yourself. Everything is you. All problems are totally naturally solved. Therefore, be patient, open mind, and patiently do manana. Manana, we say use your brain, no prejudice. Truth is truth. Why do you say Advaita is ours? We are not fond of Advaita. We are not fond of the name Advaita. We don't have any emotional attachment to name Advaita or a concept Advaita or Siddhanta Advaita. Even if you don't call Advaitins as Advaitins also, we don't worry. We are not worried. You may call by any name because we are what we are. What is a natural state is a natural state. The name Advaita is given for communication's sake. You may give any name, we don't mind. We are not attached to name Advaita. We are not attached to Shankara. You abuse Shankara, it only shows your pettiness. We are not emotionally upset. Namma Shankara, you are hurting. Because Shankara is also our Atma alone. Why should we feel hurt? And Shankara is your Atma also. Because everybody is Atma. Why should we feel hurt? Even the Dvaitins, Atheists, Ajnanis, everybody's Atma is same Brahman. Same Brahman is your Atma, my Atma, everybody's Atma, all pervasive. Why should anybody is against? If you are against Shankara, if you are against Advaitins, you are against yourself only. You are only hating yourself. You are not hating me, you are hating yourself. That's why Advaitins are so relaxed, don't worry. They don't get upset at all. You understand? See how Advaitins are even relaxed. You are only against yourself because Advaita is Atma, your own Atma. When everybody is Atma, it is your Atma. That means you are denying your own Atma, therefore you get upset. Now you understand the qualities of Atma are Nitya Nirvishesha Chaitanya Swarupatvad Atmanaha. Atma by its very nature Nitya Nirvishesha Chaitanya. Any Vishesha is from a standpoint, not from his own standpoint, not from himself. It is you take a Jiva standpoint, worldly standpoint, our standpoint, then Ishvara looks like that. It's natural and it is okay. From Jiva standpoint, whatever the nature of Ishvara is required, therefore, if Dvaitins say he has to do anugraha to Ishvara, he has to bless Jivas, he has to be friendly with Jivas, he has to love Jivas, all that is accepted, we never deny. They say, oh, you say Nirguna, how can we worship Ishvara? When you want to worship, Ishvara really receives worship. He will be very happy with your worship. He blesses you. He is loving and compassionate. He will fulfill all you. Means whatever purpose you want to achieve by worshipping and loving and by doing bhakti to Ishvara, all that Ishvara cooperates all that no compromise. All that is perfectly okay. Whatever purpose you need to achieve by Saguna Ishvara, all that purpose Ishvara achieves for you. We never deny that. They take that you called Nirguna, therefore we are unable to worship. But Advaitins call Nirguna, at the same time they do temples and puja, everything they do. Because this is one level, that is another level. We do all pujas. We do puja, namaskara, elderly respect, bhajana, kirtana, parayana, everything we do. They are really surprised. Advaitins say no guna, nothing. And at the same time they do puja, all those things, everything they do. How do they do? How can they do? They are unable to understand. They are getting confused. Therefore, ultimately, out of confusion, they start abusing because they are unable to understand. You see, this is a very trick. They should have at least understood. They are sincerely say Ishvara is Nirguna. Again, sincerely do bhakti. They do kirtana, bhajana, loving, surrendering. How they sincerely do Advaitins bhakti also. Again, they see everything is Brahma also. Probably there is something, a deeper understanding in them. They should have patiently tried to watch. They would have understood. They lose patience. They get angry and they start shouting and abusing Advaitins. I say, don't jump to abusing. Have patiently listen. You will get something, some understanding. This is what we say. Stop first character assassination and try to be patient. If you don't understand, leave it. But continue your sadhana. After some time, gradually something may happen. Some understanding may dawn upon you and upon me and upon all of us. Okay? I think Nitya Nirvishesha Chaitanya Swarupatvad Atmanaha. Okay. Nacha Anatmani. I think I am tired. We'll stop with it. We'll say tomorrow. So, it may look to that one small point alone takes 1 hour and because this is how the manana. If it is a belief, do you need this much of discussion? I tell you. I say this is this. Worldly religions, the foreign religions, they say you believe he is the only son of God. Now where is the logic for it? You accept it, it is over. Do you have to think so much? The logic they give is only all emotional logic. You accept and then they give logic. If you are too logical and dismiss it, you say this is a blind belief, there is no argument for it. They say you are atheist because you are not believing it. Once you believe, they give a logic. After believing, where is the need for logic? If you want to understand as a fact, then you have to analyze and understand. If there is no need to understand, you have to accept it. You have to believe it. Then once you believe, then why do you need all the arguments? You need arguments to argue with others alone. The atheists or non-Christians, those who argue with you, just to quarrel with them, you need argument. You don't need argument for yourself because you already believed it. So once you believe, all argumentation stops, all thinking stops. Or once you understand, then the thinking culminates there. Their thinking stops means, first you start as a thinker, try to understand. In the process of understanding, there is a lot of thinking, lot of vichara goes on, lot of observation. You keep on observing, analyzing, understanding. Then that observation, thinking, understanding culminates. Then you are free. Advaita is not a freedom from thinking, it is a culmination of thinking. It is a culmination of all vichara, all inquiry. Therefore, so to believe, you don't require so much of analysis, so much of thinking. They say few things and abuse others and over. Now for us, I am not asking you to accept this on my authority or Shankara's authority or Sachidananda Swami's authority. In your own anubhava, you have to see for yourself. Therefore, we have to analyze, observe again, probe into you, probe into your anubhava, go on and on and on. And naturally, you should culminate into the fact. Face to face, the fact itself reveals what it is. All doubts are cleared. Bhidyate hridaya granthi, siddhyante sarva samshaya. All the doubts are clear. It is just like a daylight. It dawns upon you. The jnanam dawns upon you as an intuition. Everything is clear. Okay. That's why Advaitins discuss, analyze point by point patiently. That's why time is short. One small point you take, 1 hour is over. Okay. We'll see tomorrow. Om Shanti.